Welcome back to Let's Play 1001 Games. I'm your host, Gaming Jay, and today we are going back in time to 1978 to play a classic game called Space Invaders. I think absolutely everyone out there who's possibly watching this video knows what Space Invaders is. What's with the Y? Is that a bug? Okay, so Space... Interesting. I like it that a little Martian came and corrected the Y. Space Invaders is a classic video game. It's been remade, parodied so many times, and it really is sort of a defining game. You know, when you say video game to people, Space Invaders, Pac-Man... these little aliens messing with the menu is really actually very creative for the time. And that actually wasn't the only creative thing they did for the time. So Space Invaders, you know, Pac-Man, to a lesser extent, things like Frogger, I mean, Mario, these are games that everybody knows as games. And I wanted to go and give this one a try. So here we go. We're hopping right into it. And okay. Getting ready to start. Here we go. So there's all kinds of unique innovations that came about with Space Invaders. One which I thought was kind of funny when I was reading about this game is the quote-unquote music. So I guess they consider the sort of boop, boop. Oh, wow, that's embarrassing. I guess they consider the sort of boop, 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 boop to be music, which fair enough, it kind of is. But what's interesting is that this was like revolutionary for the time when it came out. Games didn't have music. Oh, at least I got the spaceship. Wow, I'm not doing so hot. Games didn't really have music, but also one thing that was really cool. Wow. Okay, guys, that was a practice round. We're not going to officially count that as any serious attempt at this game. Because we all know I'm a much better gamer than that. That was a little embarrassing, to be honest. Okay. Here we go. Try number 2. Now I'm actually trying. Unless I die really easily, then this is again practice. But okay, the music. It is dynamic. And I never thought about that before. But if you listen to it, and you'll see, I'll probably comment on it, because it kind of... gets to me when the music increases, but it's like a little heartbeat, and it increases the more enemies you kill. And that is sort of an idea that has really stuck around in a lot of games. Like, you look at a game, I guess I mentioned Halo a lot, but it's a game I know and like. But when you look at a game like Halo, when the action starts in that game, when you enter an area and you're fighting with monsters and stuff, or not monsters, aliens. But anyway, the music is more intense, and so it's dynamic. And that idea is something that I guess started here in Space Invaders. So that's pretty cool. You'll notice my strategy here is to try to kill all the enemies at the sides. So I played like one round of this before I made this video, just to familiarize myself with the controls. Wow. And I found that if you kill guys in the middle, then the enemies go side to side a lot faster, and they drop down faster. If you kill the guys at the side, it takes a long time for this whole group to get over to one side or the other, and then bump down to another level. So, pro tip from Gaming J: when you're playing Space Invaders, focus on the sides first, so that you cut down, you give yourself more time, essentially. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Another interesting fact that I read about this game is the guy who created it, well, actually, you know, I read all sorts of interesting facts. We're just going to go through like a big fact attack right now. So first of all, see how the enemy gets really, really fast at the end here? That wasn't something that was sort of, oh man, you jerk. Oh! Well, at least I passed the level. But that is not how a way to go out. Okay, so look. Here, I'll show you what you don't want to do in Space Invaders. You don't want to do this, where you're killing a bunch of guys in the middle. Because look, the enemies at the side, they're reaching the edge of the screen faster, and they're dropping down faster. Okay, see? They're about to hit it. If I'd wiped out that far left column, they wouldn't have hit the edge, and I would have had a bit more time. Wow. Not doing so hot here. Okay, hold on. What was I talking about? Fast facts. I was saying, oh, how the enemies speed up. That was actually just a hardware quirk. So the guy who created Space Invaders, he not only had to program a highly unique game, but he had to go and build his own hardware. Like, it didn't exist. Can you imagine these days, like, somebody wants to make a first-person shooter, and they're like, well, I guess I'll just design and build a console because the hardware just doesn't exist for me. Not only a console to play it on, but to develop it on, too. That is, like, some serious skill right there. So that would never happen these days. This guy, he had to go and create... I say this guy, I looked up his name, but it's Japanese, and I know I'm going to butcher it. It is, okay, hold on. Nishikado. Actually, that wasn't as bad as I thought. Maybe I didn't butcher it. Anyway, so he had to build the hardware to make Space Invaders, and the hardware wasn't really powerful enough, to be honest. So he found that it couldn't display all the enemies on the screen fast enough. But the display got faster the fewer enemies that were on the screen. And he decided to actually keep that in as sort of a point of challenge, where the more enemies you kill, the faster they start to go. And everyone remembers that from Space Invaders. It's a really fun gameplay mechanic, but it was an accident. He didn't plan it. And I thought that was really cool. You know, working within limitations, if the hardware hadn't had that limitation, maybe Space Invaders wouldn't have had that mechanic. Maybe it wouldn't have been this fun, right? I mean, I don't know how much experience you guys have with creating things or you know, not necessarily video games, but, you know, an art project or writing or something. And when you find out that there's some limitation on what you can do, sometimes it forces you to get real creative, and it forces you to do something you wouldn't have normally done. Like, for example, the first Star Wars movie, Episode 4, that movie was plagued with problems, from what I remember reading. I can't remember specific ones, but I think, like, the droids didn't work right, and there were other things. But that forced George Lucas to get really creative. And the first Jaws movie, too. You were supposed to see Jaws a lot more than you did. But what happened? Well, the mechanical shark they built didn't really work. So instead of showing the shark, they had to hint at it and tease you and mention it and kind of imply that it was there off camera. And that actually turned out to be a way better way of doing the shark than if they had probably had the shark. So yeah, limitations can often help you... Oh geez, I was doing so good there for a while. Limitations can often help you in surprising ways, so don't be afraid of limitations, guys. Just don't let them stop you. Figure out ways to overcome them, I guess. That's the moral from Star Wars, Jaws, and Space Invaders. Okay, what other fun facts are there about Space Invaders? I said it was going to be fast facts or something. Fact attack. We've literally gone through like one fact. I like to ramble. I'm not going to deny it. Another fun fact. Okay, this game was inspired by, among other things, Star Wars. This was 1978, and I guess Star Wars came out in 1977. So, you know, yet again, without Star Wars in the world would be a very different place. Whatever you think of the prequels, which were god-awful in my opinion, you have to admit that the original Star Wars was a hugely influential... Geez, dude, can you, like, calm down for a second? This guy on the right is just wailing with non-stop shots. Dude. Okay. I like these little guys here on the bottom row. They are sort of the classic Space Invaders. Of all the sort of Space Invaders sprites, they are the ones that everyone recognizes. These rectangle guys, nobody knows who they are. They're the forgotten. Oh, man. I always think when I have one life left that maybe when I die, I'll get one more. You know, like in Mario, you can have 0 extra lives. But that's not showing me extra lives. It's showing all my lives. So, okay, we're going to keep going. I got to level 2 that time. Can we do better? Okay, what else inspired this game? How about a dream about Japanese school children who are waiting for Santa Claus and who are attacked by aliens. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not making that up. That is literally one of the inspirations for this game. I see the aliens. I don't see a lot of Santa Claus or Japanese school children. So, you know, I suppose you would call this a half-assed interpretation of that particular bizarre dream. One other thing I was reading that was kind of cool was, well, okay, another inspiration for this game was Breakout. The game programmed by good old Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, which I think was the second episode of the series I ever put up. I'm actually kind of afraid to go back and watch my old episodes because, you know, I mean, I probably haven't improved all that much. You know, I'm trying to get better each time I make one of these videos. I'm trying to be more fluid. I'm trying to have more interesting things to say. I'm trying not to, you know, babble stupidly as much. But, so I probably haven't improved all that much, to be honest, because I've only made like a dozen videos. Or, no, wait, 2 dozen by this time. But I am still kind of afraid to go back and watch those old ones, because they're probably quite rough. And it's kind of embarrassing to watch yourself. I don't know. Do you guys like seeing yourselves, like, on camera? Like, if you're in a video for some reason, or if you make like a YouTube thing, do you like going and watching yourself and listening to yourself? It's like I'm like torn. I kind of like it and I kind of don't. It's kind of embarrassing. Anyway, so Breakout also inspired this game, and that was something programmed by the old Mac boys. But this game, the creator, wait, what's his name again? Nishikado. Oops. I take 1 second to look away at my notes, and I get killed. That was intentional. These aren't random. Uh-oh, guys, we're in trouble. Oh no, we're in a lot of trouble. What do we do? Can we shoot sideways? No! Oh, I died from the guy getting to the ground. Oh, that's the worst way to go in this game. It's funny how, in a way, you can kind of like, even if you ace everything, you don't take a single hit, you're dodging and weaving, you get down to the last guy, and if you're not on the ball, you can go down. You can lose literally all your lives. Although I don't know what happens if he hits the ground and you have multiple lives. Maybe it just puts you to the next level. Doesn't completely end you, but yeah, you really have to watch that. That is a problem. Okay, so this is inspired by Breakout, more advanced. Another thing that's cool about it is it really kind of gave rise to the whole idea of the shoot 'em up and the shooting genre. So I guess even like genres like first-person shooters really owe their existence to Space Invaders. And you know, in the time of like Wolfenstein and Doom, you could just kind of run around shooting absolutely everything. Cover wasn't a huge deal. But in games like Gears of War and Uncharted, like more advanced games, they kind of really built in this idea of you have to get behind cover. And hey, look at what is protecting me now. There is cover. I mean, the whole idea of taking cover and enemies shooting back at you and enemies moving, man, we take all that for granted, but like at one point, that was a new idea. It's funny, like, the ideas that seem so obvious now, nobody had thought of at one point. If you want to be a millionaire, all you have to do is come up with something that in retrospect is going to seem so simple and obvious and good, but that no one's thought of. Okay, I realize that sounds like a hugely daunting task. I'll give you one more hint. You want to be a millionaire? Figure out what to do with 3D printers. Honestly, when the internet first came out, nobody really knew what to do with it. And it was the people who figured out what to do with it that became millionaires. People who made YouTube, people who made Netflix, people who invented online banking. Anything you think of that you can do on the internet right now, somebody had to invent that at one day, because at one point it was just a bunch of network computers, and nobody really knew what to do once they were networked. So if you had gotten in at the internet at the ground floor, you'd be set, you'd be fine. Search engines. I mean, nobody thought of the idea of search. Okay, so why 3D printers? 3D printers are the internet of today. They are the new technology that's probably going to revolutionize things. You know, people one day will be 3D printing their food. They're going to be 3D printing, you know, rather than going out to a store and buying stuff, you'll just 3D print stuff at home. You know, it's even faster than Amazon. But people still, I mean, you know, there are ideas about what to do with 3D printers. I totally ignore that UFO when it comes. I like have no interest in shooting it. It's probably just going to get me killed. That's why I kind of avoid it. Anyway, 3D printers, nobody, in my opinion, has really figured it out. And you can say that, yeah, people kind of know what to do with it. But yeah, I mean, in the same way that in the very first internet, there were news groups and stuff, so people were doing something with the internet. Still, nobody had invented YouTube. So I bet there is a whole bunch of... Man! Okay, was this level 2? I cannot beat level 2, but I'm going to. I'm dedicated. I'm going to beat level 2. Okay. Returning to 3D printers. Basically, I'm sure, I'm positive, you can quote me on this. By the time I finish playing 1001 games, 3D printers will be out, and they'll be doing things that we hadn't even thought of at this point. So, what you need to do right now, after you finish watching this video, after you click on the like and the subscribe button, after you tell absolutely every single one of your friends about this series, and you share it on your Facebook, and you favorite it, and you Instagram it, and what else could you do? You write your grandma with a web link so that she can also watch it. Because, hey, maybe she played classic games. After you do all that, you need to close your computer down, you need to open up a notepad, and you need to start brainstorming and figure out what can you do with 3D printers. Because mark my words, it's a Gaming J guarantee. Somebody's going to invent something to do with 3D printers, and they're going to be rich. And why can't that person be you? So go ahead, do it. Okay. What else we got to say here? Okay, we're gonna go for it. Yeah, hey, so that wasn't so hard. I guess this game also popularized high scores, which I'm not a fan of high scores. I don't really care about high scores. So I mean, in my own humble opinion, I mean that's one creation of Space Invaders that I don't really care about. I like getting to these guys. Again, my iconic guys here on the two bottom rows. If I'm going to kill Space Invaders, I want to kill the ones that everyone knows is a Space Invader. If you showed people that top row of enemies, they would have no idea what game it's from. If you showed them the bottom 2 rows, or really, I'm about to kill this one guy here. So the one bottom row, if you showed them that one bottom row of guys, and you said, what's that from? Everyone would say Space Invaders. They just know. They just know. Okay. I'm gonna stop talking for a sec so I can concentrate, so we can actually, you know, let's see level 3. I wonder how different it's gonna be. You know, it kind of doesn't matter how many levels I get to, because you're really just watching the same level over and over again. Oh, they move so fast. Okay, here we go. 1. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh man. Woo. Yeah, that's kind of a really intense moment. You got the music going. The guys are coming. Oh, jeez, guys are coming down. I'm trying to like scroll my notes a little, so I know a little bit more. I can talk about what I played. No, I was trying to go left, but I couldn't go left there. Oh no! Oh no! They just destroyed me. Okay, we're gonna try a new tactic. It's called going to the right. Or actually, no. Let's play this. I'm gonna try. Okay, I keep trying to wipe out columns at a time, and the sort of. I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go random. Let's just play this. This is how like someone who sort of didn't have a strategy. Not that my strategy was particularly sophisticated, but this is just how like how I played as a kid. How a normal person would play the first time they ever pick up Space Invaders. They didn't think about wiping out the far right and left columns to buy themselves more time. Let's just see what happens. So we're going to kind of focus on doing it rows at a time, which I think is a bad strategy. I think it's going to backfire, but we'll see. I remember like somebody showing me to shoot through your own cover. I remember how I think they made fun of that in Futurama. So there was a Futurama episode where aliens invaded Earth, and they were like all from old video games. Oh god. It's the Futurama episode that the Adam Sandler movie, Pixels, ripped off, basically. Pixels actually was also based on an internet short that somebody made, which is really cool. It was like a graphics art project or something. And somebody just made all these video games coming and destroying New York. And there's no story or plot to it. It was just sort of, oh man. One problem if you don't wipe out rows at a time is when the guys are really close to you, if they shoot, you have no time to dodge. So you kind of want them to be high. Okay, here we go. Oh man. You fail once at that, and it gets so stressful every time it happens. Okay, Space Invaders. Here's another interesting fact about it. It is sometimes credited as, oh geez. That one guy was like lobbing into that cover. He was just shooting hog wild at me. Man, can we get to... This is like bringing back memories of Donkey Kong. Remember how Donkey Kong, I could like barely pass level 2? This is happening again. And what's funny too is that like the games I'm having trouble with are the games that are so simple that in my cocky head, I think, oh yeah, Space Invaders. I'll just play that and I'll just breeze on through. I mean, I'm an adult now. I'm all grown up. I'm a man. And when I was a kid, I sucked at Space Invaders. But that was because I was a kid. I didn't know what I was doing. Lo and behold, who knew? But Space Invaders is not an easy game. I wouldn't mind seeing like a Space Invaders Pro who like got everything, even those ships. I can't time my shots to go between these guys. Like, it went between them right there. That wasn't intentional. I wasn't shooting anything. Same with right there. Okay. So, Space Invaders is sometimes held responsible for ending the gaming crash of the late 70s. Basically, the gaming crash came about because Pong was such a big hit that absolutely everyone said, well, let's just do that. So you had companies like Sears producing Pong consoles. They were literally Pong consoles. Everyone made them. And some were really bad quality. And so basically consumers just started to get really skeptical of video games. And everyone kept investing in video games because they're like, this is the money train that will never end. Nothing could possibly go wrong. And of course something did go wrong. It was called people stopped buying Pong consoles. Surprise, surprise. People didn't want to play Pong for the rest of their lives. So people really lost faith in video games. Space Invaders came along, helped change that, helped create a whole new dynamic of video game, and that was one of its legacies, man. It was so popular, I think it sold, like in 1 year, an equivalent of like $7 billion in profits. Or no, that was just the, I think the profits more like $1.5 billion of our money. This is accounting for inflation. I don't know, it was less back then. But anyway, the point is, it sold so much that there were even rumors in Japan that like I guess they use 100 yen coins rather than quarters like we do for their arcade machines. But there were rumors that the 100 yen coin was in scarce supply because too many people were playing Space Invaders, which was not true, but it's kind of funny that was even, like, people kind of believed it, Extra lifetime, baby. I guess every 1,500 points you get an extra life, probably. So that's something to pay attention to. You know what? I thought I was so smart taking out columns at a time. I'm not finding it necessarily any easier or harder doing it this way. So much for my high-level strategy. I don't know the first thing about Space Invaders, as it turns out. Die. Have any of you guys heard of the Music of Video Games concert series? I forget what the sort of full official title is. But that's a really neat series. It's like a symphony that goes around. Oh, man. Damn it. Oh, I got the high score, though. We got to break 2 grand. We got to have 2,000 or level 3. Oh, man. I've been playing this for 24 minutes, though. Okay, this is my last life. And we got to go through the remaining trivia really quick. Okay, what else? The concert and video games. The only reason I brought that up is It's a really fun thing. If Google it if you've never heard of it. If it comes to your city, I highly recommend going. It's a symphony that plays video game music, and then they show video games on like a big screen while they're doing it. And they have like cosplay contests and stuff, and they have Guitar Hero in the lobby for people to play, which is a game that really peaked in popularity several years ago, and it's kind of a fad that's over. But anyway, they also got someone up on stage to play sort of like live Space Invaders, where like there were Space Invaders on the screen, and the person could actually walk back and forth, and they could click a button, and it would shoot a bolt up from wherever the person was standing. So that was really neat. So yeah, I mean, Space Invaders is just so popular that it appears where you least suspect it. Okay, what else we got? What else, indeed? Oh, yeah, I guess the last thing that I wanted to mention. Good thing I'm dying because I'm getting near the end of what I want to talk about. Ah, you jerk! The last thing that I wanted to mention. Oh no! Wow. What an unceremonious ending. I didn't even pass the first level, but that's okay, because I'm getting near the end. The last thing I wanted to say about Space Invaders is it got gaming companies away from sports. After the success of Pong, everyone was trying to create sports games because they thought that's what gamers wanted. Lo and behold, Space Invaders comes along and shows that, hey, guess what? You can use aliens, you can use fantasy settings, you can use whatever you want. You can get highly creative. And people realized, hey, we don't have to make just clones of Pong. We can actually make games with all sorts of themes. And if games had remained purely sports-based, I mean, I definitely wouldn't have been super interested in them as a kid. I probably still would have liked them, but it's just not the same. So, if you like video games, you got to tip your hat to Space Invaders. It really did a lot in its day. And you know what? I actually had a little bit of fun playing this. I would say I'm sure there are modern versions of Space Invaders that add more dynamic elements to it to make it a little more fun. A lot of people play this on the Atari. I thought of playing the Atari version of this, but the more I read about it, the more I realized that it was the arcade version that was so important to the gaming industry. And so that's the one I had to play. I'll play an Atari game next, actually, just to kind of make sure I'm mixing it up with the types of games I'm playing, the types of generations, the types of consoles, all that stuff. All right, guys. Pros and cons. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I haven't ever said this officially, but what I try to do at the end of every video is give a few quick pros and cons. I give you my recommendation, should you play this before you die, and then I say thanks. So very quickly, pros and cons of this game. The pros are, it's actually still fun. There's still something about it, shooting these aliens and dodging back and forth, having the cover. It's pretty fun. And it's not like the mechanics behind it don't really hold up. They do. It's just more games have more flash. They have more going on. They're more sophisticated. So for its time, for the technical limitations that existed, this was a great game. And so it still does, in my opinion, hold up. In terms of the cons, I don't know. I guess maybe it's a little easy to get killed. I wish you had continues and stuff. Oh, and the levels are all the same. There's no variety in levels. Again, technical limitations. I understand why it was like that. But if I'm being honest, one part that makes it not hold up is that the levels are just all the same. So if you beat one level, you've beat them all. They just get harder. Should you play this before you die, though? Definitely. If you never played Space Invaders, play it. You don't have to play this version. You can go play a modern one that maybe has more going on that will maybe interest you more. But definitely know about Space Invaders, know why it was important, and go give it a try. You shan't be disappointed. Alright guys, if you have liked this video, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and as always, I will see you in a couple days with a new video and an Atari game. I'm going to go on the record and promise an Atari game next. Alright guys, until then, peace.